These are some of YouTube's most loved vegan chocolate cakes. Today we're going to look at the ingredients, the methods, and of course, the taste. To help me determine which one of the cakes is the most delicious, I'm going to ask a team of a Michelin restaurant to taste all three cakes. Let's start by looking at the ingredients. The base ingredients are the same in all three cakes. Now, when it comes to differences, two cakes use oil as the fat and one calls for vegan butter. Then the Make It Dairy-Free cake stands out with the use of hot water instead of coffee. We also see some applesauce in the Pick Up Limes recipe, and vegan yogurt and brown sugar are only used in the Banana Diaries cake. The first recipe that we are going to make is by the Banana Diaries. I am going to link her recipe down in the description, as well as her YouTube video, and of course I'll do the same for the other two recipes that we're going to make. So let's take a look at the instructions. In a medium bowl, whisk together the flour, cocoa powder, baking soda, and salt. Set aside. In a large bowl, whisk the vegan butter, sugar, and brown sugar until integrated. Then add in the dairy-free yogurt and vanilla extract, and whisk again until combined. To the mixture, add in about half of the flour mixture, along with half of the buttermilk. Whisk gently until the flour starts to combine with the wet. Add in the remaining flour mixture and buttermilk, and whisk again just before there are no more dry streaks. Slowly pour in the hot coffee and whisk gently until the coffee has just mixed into the batter. The consistency of the batter is very nice. It looks exactly like you would expect a batter for a chocolate sponge to look like. I'm using a silicone mold instead of two round cake pans for all three recipes today. I did not want to make that much cake, so I halved all the recipes. Our next recipe today is by Make It Dairy-Free. This is a one bowl recipe, so basically what we need to do is make the buttermilk, then we're going to combine all the dry ingredients and mix all the wet ingredients into the dry. Combine dairy-free milk, apple cider vinegar, and vanilla extract to make buttermilk. Then, to a large bowl, add all your dry ingredients: flour, sugar, cocoa powder, baking soda, and salt. Then whisk together. Next, add oil, boiling water, and vegan buttermilk. Mix with a spatula until just combined. The recipe promises a very runny batter, and it is indeed very runny. But as you can see, it comes out exactly like it's supposed to. The sun is slowly setting, and our final recipe today is by Pick Up Limes. Just like the Banana Diaries recipe, it's a two-bowl recipe, so basically one bowl for mixing the dry, another one for mixing the wet, and then you combine the wet into the dry. But let's follow the instructions to the T. Just like in the previous two recipes, we start by making the buttermilk. Next, in a large mixing bowl, sift your flour, cocoa powder, baking powder, and baking soda. Add salt, sugar, and give it a good mix. Then to the bowl containing the buttermilk, we are going to add vanilla, coffee, coconut oil, and unsweetened applesauce. After mixing thoroughly, we are going to incorporate the wet ingredients into the dry and mix the batter. This batter is definitely the thickest one out of the three, but the sponge came out soft and pillowy just like for the other two cakes. And I suspect that it might be very difficult to pick a winner because so far everything's looking really good. All three sponges were relatively easy and very much a pleasure to make, but Make It Dairy-Free method definitely stands out with how simple it was. When it comes to the buttercream, we can see that the base ingredients are the same, but Pickup Lime's recipe stands out with the addition of chocolate. We are starting with a buttercream recipe by the Banana Diaries. In her YouTube video, Brit adds a splash of plant milk, but here I'm sticking to the written recipe. As you saw, I beat the butter until fluffy and then incorporated powdered sugar and cocoa powder. Next up, we have the Make It Dairy-Free Buttercream recipe. We are starting by creaming the butter, but this time mixing in the cocoa powder right away. When that's smooth and glossy, we are gonna go in with powdered sugar, dairy-free milk, and mix again until we can incorporate the rest of the powdered sugar and some more dairy-free milk. I think the vanilla that we added at the beginning is going to be a nice touch, and I'm also just very happy about the texture of this buttercream. For the Pickup Lime's buttercream, just like for the other two, we are starting by beating the vegan butter until it's fluffy, then adding vanilla, powdered sugar, and cocoa powder. This recipe stands out with the addition of melted dark chocolate, and we are also adding a splash of plant milk. The color of this buttercream is so deliciously chocolatey, and I can't wait to taste everything. But first we have to make the cakes. So I'm cutting out these little round shapes because I want to make tiny cakes and then use the rest to maybe make some little even tinier cakes just for us to keep at home. I could have made squared cakes just by cutting the sponges in half, but I kind of wanted to give that authentic slice of cake experience to the tasters, so I went with the tiny cakes. I really enjoyed working with all three frostings. The one by Banana Diaries had the thickest consistency out of the three. It created a nice rustic finish. The Make It Dairy-Free Buttercream had the softest and smoothest consistency. It worked very well because this cake also had the most fragile sponge out of the three. Pickup Lime's buttercream was on the thicker side and the cake had a nice crumb to it. Since I cut the shapes and exposed the sides, I had to be careful to not mix the crumbs into the frosting. I just really love the sharp and glossy finish of this one. As I'm cutting the cakes, I'm also packing the slices into boxes. That's because the Michelin restaurant that our tasters work at is closed today, and it's everyone's day off. So I will be bringing the cakes to everyone personally. The cool part is that my partner, who's the chef, is free today, and he will taste with me and talk us through his opinions. We're going to start with the cake by the Banana Diaries. Cheers. Cheers. It's a really good cake.
It's a good cake. Feels a bit healthy, like for a chocolate cake.
Healthy? This feels healthy. There's a mountain of sugar in all three of these. All three of them. Fair enough, but it's a chocolate cake, right? It's supposed to have a mountain of sugar.
Like for a chocolate cake, I imagine to be like...
I see what you mean.
Punches you in the tongue.
Well, all these cakes use cocoa powder. There is one that has chocolate in it, but it's in the frosting. So there is maybe not enough chocolatiness for you in that sense. No, it's really good. I love the sponge. The flavor is very chocolatey. The sponge is moist and really, really fluffy. The buttercream is very sweet. I mean, but that's how buttercream is, right? The next cake that we're going to taste is by Make It Dairy-Free. Is it maybe a little bit denser than the first one?
It's definitely denser, but it feels lighter, the whole cake together, because the buttercream feels a bit lighter than this one.
It has a really good flavor. And when I say that this cake is a little denser, I don't mean drier. It's definitely not dry.
It's very moist.
Maybe the second one has a little bit more flavor. And last but not least, we have a cake by Pickup Limes. In this one, I can taste the coffee. It's a little bit drier,
Maybe, but this one feels a bit more like brownish, and it's not as sweet as the other two. The taste is more intense, but like chocolate and a bit of bitterness.
Yeah, this one has a little bit of pleasant bitterness. It's definitely not a bad thing. It's a chocolatey bitterness. I really like the buttercream of this one. It has deeper taste and it's less sweet. I'm thinking like which one I would make again, and I'm honestly having such hard time deciding. You have a clear winner? Was easy for you.
They're similar, but I knew which one I like the best.
Meanwhile, our tasters had made their decision. With the Make It Dairy-Free cake in the lead, it was up to us to decide on the winning cake. It's hard because my favorite buttercream and my favorite sponge are not in the same cake. So when it comes to buttercream, this one definitely was my favorite buttercream. The texture, the flavor, the depth, the bitterness. Then this was the second favorite. You can tell that this one is the one that has real chocolate in it. And then when it comes to the sponge, I just really like this one. And then for me, the second favorite is this one, because here I can taste the applesauce. I know that if I'll be making a chocolate cake again, I'll probably use this recipe just purely because of the sponge. And then this one is the second one because of the very superior buttercream. And this just falls into third place, not because it's not as good as the other two, but probably because it didn't win any of the categories, favorite buttercream or favorite sponge. But I made this cake for our anniversary. We both loved it. I added some cherries to it and it was just amazing. So yeah, what about you?
Well, we agree on everything. The buttercream kind of places and the biscuit cases, we disagree completely on the winning cake though.
Oh wow, that's interesting. Okay, so walk me through it. What you thought about the buttercreams and why the placement?
Definitely the best.
Okay.
And chocolate. This one is my least favorite because it was a bit too sweet for me. This one was very good, but the chocolate gives it a different
Okay, yeah.
level. But it was my least favorite sponge.
Okay, yeah, for me too.
And this one was my most favorite. It's the same. But the buttercream made the cake the winning cake.
Okay.
Because even if it was my least favorite sponge, the buttercream saved everything. For
No, it's amazing,
about
yeah.
The buttercream is than about the sponge.
No, that's really cool. I really like how maybe the rankings for the elements were similar, but I like how our thought process is so different when it comes to picking a winner. Because for me, it was all about the sponge. I guess for you, it's all about buttercream. All of these cakes are delicious. I think there has been a lot of recipe testing going in all of these recipes, and I want to say a huge thank you to the Banana Diaries, to Make It Dairy-Free, and Pick Up Limes for having all these amazing recipes out there for us to use and enjoy, because all of the three creators promise a decadent, delicious, and moist chocolate cake, and that's what you get from all three of them. I really hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know down in the comments if you want me to test or compare any other dishes or recipes, and I hope to see you soon in the next one. Bye! The flaky salt, he brought out the salt. Shit. It makes a huge difference. The sugar needs salt. I would add a pinch of salt to the buttercream, all three of them.
Don't use table salt.
In buttercream?
In any pastries. Use fleur de sel or some flaky salt, because regular fine table salt is very salty and it has the iodic flavor. It tastes like licking wall.
Licking wall. There you go. A little pro tip.